going to start easing up this hill in low gear. It's kind of strange, but the GoPro, which is mounted up near the roof rack, doesn't really seem to capture the reality of the steepness of this hill or this terrain. It's a little bit of climb coming up here, and I'm in two-wheel drive, but it's pretty rocky and rutted, just in case anything runs across the road. A few quail jump up and take off, but it's always when you're not filming that some deer or something will run across the road, or a buck will stand in the road and stare at you as you're driving up through here. Okay, here we're proceeding. I'm driving up on top of the hill where I can look down at the main tank. As I mentioned earlier in a video, this is a big cattle area. So if they're letting their cattle roam this free range and feed, they usually bring water in for them, and they fill up the tanks and the little dry surface ponds with water for the cattle. So I'm driving in here, scouting it out, see indeed if there is any water there, and check for deer sign, and hopefully do a sit this evening. Reaching the top here, about ready to go back down and then go up again. You can hear the Xterra laboring along, especially when we come to this stretch here. It's pretty rocky. Some parts of the road are rutted pretty well. That's not as bad as usual, which tells me the earlier June, July, early August monsoon seasons probably weren't that great. Well, this is the main pond area, and I walked all around the pond much earlier checking for deer sign. There were just no deer tracks, no coyote tracks, no javelina tracks. So that tells me this pond's been dry for some time. Out in the desert here, there's feed all over the place. The cacti blooms, the various feed sources like an ocotillo, they leaf out during a good monsoon rainy season, and that provides a lot of feed for the deer, but the deer still need H2O. So if you can find a water source, the surrounding area and the terrain for about a mile, mile and a half to 2 miles in diameter, the deer will be there someplace. So I've got the drone up. I'm just flying through the little ravines and the arroyos, just trying to give you an overlook of what the desert terrain looks like. Should you be interested in coming out one day and hunting the Arizona desert, it's very beautiful, but it's rough, dry country. And walking and hiking here, it's very hard not to make noise. So it's noisy walking through this here. That's probably what really developed all this long-range shooting in Arizona, because they can get on top of a little knob like this one we're coming up to, and they can, glass and shoot, 500, 600, 700, even up to 800 yards distant, because it's certainly very difficult to cover ground quietly to stalk in on these deer. And that's with a rifle. Just imagine trying to stalk in to these deer with a bow and arrow in your hand. Here the drone, I'm coming down the ridge line, kind of headed back toward the cattle pond area. You can see that it's pretty much up and down country. You got these little hilltops, and then they immediately drop off pretty severely down to the bottom of these arroyos and these ravines. All right, we're going to take and drive on out of here. Flew the drone earlier to the next tank, which was about a mile away. And that tank, as this main tank, was dry as well. So, well, you don't know sometimes till you get boots on the ground, or at least some tire rubber on these old roads. And here we come. This is a very rutted section of road here before I climb uphill to the top and then drop back down to the gate on this Arizona state land. Arizona state and trust land is open for access if you have a hunting or fishing license. your hunting or fishing license, that is your pass to access Arizona State Trust lands. And a lot of these will be signed as such when you reach the gates. All right, well, I've come to the exit gate, so I'm going to exit the vehicle here and head on over and swing the gate out. The rule in the West, some people say leave gates as you find them, but you know, I open the gate, let myself in, and once I'm in, I close the gate behind me, and vice versa. Once I leave state trust land, I will close the gate behind me. A lot of times, even if I find one of these rickety barbed wire wood stick gates open and I enter, I still close it behind me because none of these are locked. They're not locked gates. They're just simple barbed wire, wood stake, wood post type gates. And being barbed wire, you want to make sure you wear a pair of work leather gloves when you're handling these gates because it is barbed wire. And a lot of times it's rusted barbed wire, so you definitely don't want to cut yourself or impale yourself on this barbed wire. And now to walk backwards and grab the gate and swing it closed behind me. These post barbed wire gates are very common here in Arizona. It's probably mostly what you're going to find when you come up to a gate. If you come up to a metal swing gate, 90% of the time those metal swing gates are locked and they don't allow access behind them. Boy, sometimes you feel like you need to have a come along to stretch this barbed wire gate so you can get the loops of wire back over the lead fence post to hold it into place. Gosh, the western Arizona desert is so beautiful, so beautiful. I'm tempted to maybe go back to the Xterra, get a little something to eat, and maybe wait for the sunset, because when the sun starts setting down behind the hills, it really lights this place up a beautiful bright orange. So we'll see, but I'm pretty tired and I just soon hit the road. I have a long day tomorrow. I plan on going about 20 miles further east to an area I saw a lot of deer a few days ago. So that's where I'm headed out to. Well, it's been a long afternoon of scouting. I hiked into the water tank only to find that the cattle tank and the cattle pond, they were dry as can be. And I knocked on the big steel tank they usually fill with water, and it was pretty empty all the way to the bottom. Sounded hollow when I knocked on it, so that tells me they haven't had any cattle in there in a long time, or they would have had water both in the tank and in the little swale, the little pond. And then there's another tank about another mile and a half away, but instead of hiking in there, I just decided to fly the drone. So I flew the drone all the way in there, only to find that that tank as well was dry as can be. So they only put water in those tanks when they're running cattle out here. So no cattle, no water. Checking the main tank or the main water pond, I saw no deer tracks at all. No javelina tracks, no deer tracks, nothing. So out here in the desert, you gotta find water if you want to find deer. I mean, as far as feed and cover, there's plenty of that, but you know, you got to have some H2O. And so I didn't, that kind of blew my plan away for sitting at that pond in the evening, because there's no water there, no tracks, no deer sign. So anyway, I stopped here because of the beautiful view behind me of this butte here. And just to give you an update, I got about hour and a half, 2 hours before the sun finally sets. But I thought I'd film the update now so I can head back to the house in Gilbert. All right, everybody, stay tuned. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up icon. To stay tuned for new video releases, please hit the red subscribe button. And again, a special thanks to those people who've subscribed to my channel. Just helps this old guy out with my small little YouTube channel, which my grandsons enjoy so much. All right, everybody, stay tuned. Mav Hunter out.